WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. Did you know that there's a Ballot system for this bottle in Australia? This is from Starward. This is their Muscat 2019-2023 4-year-old bottling with 48% ABV. About 135 Australian dollars. Over here in Germany, about 84. Whiskybase 237327. So, what do? They take barrels from the, what is the name of the vineyard again? They take them from the Rutherglen vineyard. Muscat. I dislike this box. Look what happens. This little thing just flies all over the place. I think there could be a better solution for this box than that, but that's just me. All right, so good. Like the bottle, like the shape, like the design, like the wording on here. Now, Rutherglen is a fairly old vineyard there in Australia. They do have different categories of their muscat. They have their standard, which is aged in wood between 3 and 5 years. They have their classic, which is aged in wood between 6 and 10 years. They have their grand, which is between 11 and 19 years of age. And they actually have their rare, which is aged 20 plus years as a wine. That's kind of crazy, I think. There's another problem I'm not 100% sure about. I sometimes find the words for casks used to mature and finish whiskeys, and this is a full maturation, full 4 years. 2019, it came in the cask. Some are wet, some are charred, and some were wet, some didn't receive a char, some did. And it was bottled after 4 years of full maturation in these Muscat casks. Sometimes I find the word muscat. Sometimes I find the word muscatel, muscat, muscatel, and muscatella. So over here in Germany, we have muscatella wine, which is not fortified. In Spain, they have muscatel, which is a fortified wine. And over here in Australia, they have Muscat, which is also a fortified wine from the Muscat grape. So, are they the same? Sometimes there's non-fortified wines. Sometimes they're fortified wines, like a sherry, like a port. I am sometimes confused here, and I've been like this for a little while now about the different namings of almost, or if not identical products, depend on the geography. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pull out this little thing here. This is, I've pulled this out a few times. This is a Muscatel single cask release from a German distillery. It is 55.6% ABV. I do know it's a little bit higher. And this was a fortified wine. This was a fortified wine from Spain. And let's push this over here a little bit and get a little bit of space in here. I have something left in my glass from my German video, so I'm just going to keep that there. And that's going to be my comparison whiskey. Now, can someone maybe clarify in the comments about what's the difference between Muscat and Muscatel and Muscatella? That would make my life a tiny little bit easier to understand. All right, good. So, as I said, or as I was saying, let's say that better, this is actually here, you have to enter the ballot. You had to enter the ballot to get this whiskey. Starward Muscat will be available exclusively via ballot at starward.com.au. The only way to get your hands on a bottle is to enter the ballot for a chance to purchase. Now, I got the bottle over here in Germany. I did a bottle share. To be honest, it's not even totally shared. There are still shops that still have this. Now, people in Australia are raising their hand and going, give me, but we're in Germany and sending it back to Australia would be a little bit of a weird moment there. And there's a website on starward.com.au under the blogs. It's part of the journal, and it's called This is What Happens When Muscat and Whiskey Meet. Now, it's interesting. It says here, when you think of Muscat, what comes to mind? Traditionally, this fortified wine is developed in a few different styles. From crispy white wines to rich, late harvest sweet wines and fortified liqueurs. So I guess that's my problem. We have white dry, we have late harvest sweet, and we have fortified liqueurs, which are all called Muscat. Fun fact, Muscat wine grapes are also one of the few varieties that people commonly enjoy as table grapes. Just eat them. You don't have to make wine out of them. And to put simply, there's much to love about Muscat, especially when you use the barrels to mature whiskey. We're speaking here at Starward from experience. Can you tell? Yep, our latest limited release as part of our Steward Projects program. I don't see the, oh, there it is. All right, here up here is the Steward Whiskey Projects. The ginger beer is a project and so on. I didn't even recognize that. Is here the Steward Muscat. Here's how the magic happened, what you can expect when you crack a bottle, and why Muscat is having a moment. So I'm just going to continue reading because I thought the blog post was very helpful for us. So, why Muscat? Why not? We're incredibly lucky to have access to some of the best fortified wines in our own backyards, Rutherglen. Victoria, to be exact. This isn't just any Muscat, though. It has been lovingly blended and produced using skills passed down from generation to generation. A combination of Rutherglen's unique climate and being carefully handcrafted from aged stocks results in intense, rich, and sumptuous wine. A Rutherglen Muscat typically offers flavors of raisins. Do I get them? Probably. Dried figs? Yes. Roasted nuts? Maybe. Christmas spice? Yes. Toffee, salted caramel, dark chocolate, and molasses even. It's full-bodied and up there in terms of sweetness level. This is a quintessential Australian wine that deserves its time in the sun and in our whiskey. Now, the latest project's release is a nod to the iconic Muscat grape, balancing the deliciously sweet, sticky character with soft oak spice from the barrels. After our friends at Rutherglen pass on their ex-Muscat cask, we fill them with Starward signature new make spirit in a combination of fresh, they actually call on the back of here wet, and charred Muscat barrels. Interesting how they describe the word charred here. Charred barrels are, as the name suggests, barrels that have had direct contact with fire, leaving them blackened on the inside. Char creates a textured surface that alters the makeup of the oak, which acts as a natural filtration system and imparts sweet caramel and vanilla notes. And once the barrels are all filled up, they're left to their own device for 4 years to soak up all the sweetness and spicy goodness from the fortified wine, the Muscat, before Starward combines the liquid from both types of barrels. So what's the outcome when Starward combines their award-winning whiskey with deliciously rich Muscat barrels? Well, they call it magical. All right. There's actually a picture here of a golden spoon with butterscotch on it, or toffee, liquid toffee, going onto a cinnamon roll. I mean, if that does not suggest some type of moment, I don't know what. I truly love the fact that Starward in Australia is using Australian wine barrels. Why buy American ex-bourbon barrels, bring them to Australia, when you actually have barrels in Australia that are superior quality? Nothing against American bourbon barrels. I love them. But if you're going to make an Australian product, use Australian barley, use Australian water, maybe even use a strand of yeast from Australia, and use Australian barrels. And then send that whiskey out to the world for all of us to enjoy this pure, authentic Australian product. Now, talking about being authentic here, where are the words non-chilled filtered and no added color on the bottle or on the packaging? I could not find anything. And I looked, I think that's a little bit of a shame. That could be a little bit of something we could increase or include here on the labeling. So, all right, on the nose, I get a whole bunch of caramel with red berries. We're talking red currants, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries. Did I say currants already? Cranberries. So this whole red tart moment. It's compressed. It's really concentrated. It's almost, and that's just me, too almost concentrated for my whiskey subtleness. This is a wine. This is a red fruit bomb. It's good. It's got a little bit of sweetness in the nose, but more of a wood spice, red berry tartness. This, on the other hand, has a little bit more of a sourness, a little bit more of mineralness, and a little bit more of a plum fig moment going on. So which leads me to believe that these high quality Muscat casks are different than the Spanish Muscatel cask that was used here for our blogger and vlogger single cask bottling. 48% versus 55.6. So I didn't even give you the Whiskybase number for that one. This is going to be Whiskybase number 249810. 48%. Cheers. Mm-hmm. What surprised me is the heat of this. There's a little bit of astringency. There's that tartness. There's a red berry concentrated flavor moment. It's almost as if this is too concentrated for my palate. Astringency, tartness, red berry, cinnamon, brown sugar, just a tad. I would have put in a lot more, a couple more teaspoons of brown sugar in here. But I can't do that. That's not what this whiskey is. It's dry. It's drying. Now, I do love a good dry red wine. I've had red wines that are actually too dry. It's like, okay, some water in there. Not often. They've been other people puckered up and go, I'm like, oh, that's good. And there's been actually a few that's been too much for me. I think one was from South Africa and one was actually from Australia. But this is a high quality product. Now, this is not my wheelhouse. That's my problem here. I'm not the concentrated red fruit berry type of guy. Over here we have, sometimes it's called rote grütze, and it's just a red berry dessert. You can put it on vanilla pudding, you can put it on ice cream, you can eat it pure, you can just do that. Is there a good word for that in English? Wait a second here. So, rote grütze. It says here for rote grütze, a red berry pudding or red berry compote. Grout, Grout. All right, that's just okay. We need the rote grütze. We need the red berry compote. That is sometimes for me too tart, and that's what I'm getting here. But that's okay. Let me see if I can get some. Yep. Okay. Yeah, mixed berry compote. Think of that. All right. So if you ever look at that, that's what we got here. It's good, but it's it's way too much for me. I diluted it down a little bit with water. It does get a tad bit better. Mm-hmm. There's not a single fault with this whiskey. There's no real bitterness. It's just tartness from the red wine. There's not too much oak, but there's a nice supporting milk chocolatey type of European oak almost going on here. High tannin oak. The fruitiness, full maturation, 4 years. The only thing I could knock off a little bit of points is the heat at the end. Had there not been, did they run the stills a little bit too hot? Where does that white pepper, that ginger spice come in there a little bit? Except for that, it's a very, very well done whiskey. And I understand that people that love this flavor profile are just going wild and want to have that bottle. It's still in my book a C plus. Now, if I really like this profile of my whiskeys, it could be a B, but it's not my wheelhouse. Value for money, 84 euros, 120 or 100, what is it, 25, 35 Australian dollars, 135 Australian dollars. I'm going to give it a C minus. I think for a 4-year-old whiskey, even though it's from Australia, it's a little bit too much. That's 22 euros per year in my book. C minus. It's not a D, it's a C minus. This is if you like Starward and you haven't had the Muscat whiskey yet. Go for it. Try it before you buy it, though, if possible. But this is going to be something you're going to like. They love the red wine. Sometimes I get a cherry lollipop. Sometimes I get that dark, rich, red Bordeaux type of moment. Cabernet Sauvignon, dry red wine. That's what I'm getting here, Muscat. Sometimes I get a little bit more of a berry mix. Sometimes there's so many different wine flavors out there, and I just love the fact that Starward is using Australian wine barrels for this fresh. So between the emptying of the barrels and the refilling at the distillery, there's usually less than 48 hours. Perfect. No sulfur candles. Yay. This is what we want. This is what we need. And one thing I was on the gospel page here. I was just doing a video about this recently, the gospel, the rye whiskey, also from Melbourne. And they had the temperature variations during the different months of the year in Melbourne. And they compared it to Aberdeen in Scotland. And you had like, in degrees Celsius, you had like 20 degrees difference each and every day. In every single month is average in Melbourne. And in Aberdeen, Scotland, it was like 8, maybe even a 6. All right. So during the whole year, and they were under the very bottom part, and then you always had the wide variations in temperature there in Melbourne. And they actually did Louisville, Kentucky, which was very, very interesting as well, because there was more variation in Louisville, Kentucky, always, every single day. There was actually almost, I'm going to say 14 degrees Celsius, almost on every single day from winter to summer. But they were in the middle, which meant it got hotter often in Melbourne on average and got much colder on average every single day. And that really accelerates the maturation process of Starward. This has no youth to it, even though it's only 4 years of age. C plus, value for money, C minus. That's my expectations here. I do have 30 CLs left here. If you're in Germany and you need to have a sample, contact me, WhiskyJason@gmail.com, and we can make something work. I think it was a price here of the 5CL was, where are you here? Starward. Basically 9 euros for 5CLs and basically 15 euros here for 10 CLs. Or 84 euros for the entire bottle if you go online and find it yourself. This it's different. I like the flavor, but I like the sweetness here more than I do the tartness here. What is your favorite Australian whiskey? If that's too general, what's your favorite Starward whiskey? And if that's too specific, what's your favorite Muscat, Muscatel, Muscatella finish or full maturation in whiskeys? Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, telling others. Starward is a distillery I can highly recommend. They're doing very, very good things, and the whole entire concept is wonderful. Well done, well done. Whiskey Jason, bye-bye.